It's 4:30. We're going to call this meeting to order. Right on time. How are you?
I'm all confused.
I know, she's a friend.
I'm just
She
a
is a
friend.
friend?
I'm just a
You're
friend.
welcome. Not just a friend. You're a great friend. But if someone wants to pass her one of those folders so she can play along, I think that'd be good.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then Janet, you've got the same thing that we all have in that blue folder, okay? All right, you're welcome. Well, welcome. January is our first meeting of 2023, and we have lots of new faces, so lots of new opportunity for the year. So glad to have y'all. We've been called to order. And I don't know if we want to talk about minutes first or if we'd like to do some introductions since we have so many new faces. No?
Maybe some introduction.
Maybe some introductions. So first, I'll start. Most of y'all know me, but I'm Tracy Buchanan. I'm chair of the board. I started in 2021, so I'll be with you through 2024. And glad to have so many new faces. And we'll start with the tenured folks first, and then we'll let the new people do some introductions. So Krista, we'll start.
I'm Krista Quinn. I am the Faulkner County Extension Agent for Horticulture, and I am like an advisor to the tree board, a non-voting member.
All right, I'm Kyle Kelly. I'm the long range planner with the city of Conway. So I work in the planning department and I am also non-voting. So I'm here just to kind of help and assist you all with anything that you need planning wise.
My turn.
Yes, sir.
I'm Scott Meek. I'm a voting member. I've been here since 2022 and I'm a citizen of Conway and a professional forester for timber company.
Awesome. And now moving on to our new members. So Logan, so I know Logan and Skylar are both appointed by the city, but have not been officially sworn in by city council, so there'll be no voting participation until we get that back. But if you want to start, Logan.
Yeah,
Introduce yourself.
I'm Logan Pryor. I'm with Conway Corporation. I work in the engineering department.
Fantastic. And we're glad to have you.
I'm Skylar Swope. I'm one of the program and marketing managers over there at the Conway Parks and Rec. So if y'all need anything from there, just let me know.
I'm Shani Jackson. I'm just interested. I just kind of found that through another organization called Citizens Climate Lobby, and so I just kind of opened the floodgate to a ton of different places. So
Great. Excited.
I'm Sam Little. I'm a grad student who studies tree physiology. I'm also a resident of Conway, and I love trees. So here we are.
Excellent. I'm glad to have all of y'all. We do have some friends in the house today, Janet and Claire. Hello. Glad to have y'all. Very dedicated. All right, guys. So today will be a little bit of a different meeting. We're not going to go straight to any kind of business. And I do want to point out that I've got some packets for you all to get us started. And we're just going to kind of go through these kind of high-level overview of what our mission, our purpose is. I know y'all probably looked at the information before you got here, obviously. We'll review some ordinances and policies that are relevant to us. And then also in your packets, we've done some tentative calendar planning for the year, some of the events we would like to do, and some of the work. I included our 2022 year-end report for y'all, so you can have kind of a history of what we did this past year. And then we also have, and that's kind of on your left-hand side, I've got the agenda for today's meeting. I have our tentative calendar of events, and this is just for ongoing purposes. We do have some committee work that we've done, so part of one of our responsibilities is to devise a tree care management plan, and so I've got some of our work that we've started on that. And then some of the relevant ordinances, bylaws, things like that. So we'll kind of just hit on some of the important policies today, and not really do a lot of meat of work today. Answer some questions, start with some financials, and then have some discussion time if y'all have any questions for us too. And interject along the way as you would like. So For today, and typically when we start a meeting, the week before, typically you will have a week's notice of agenda. Also, I'll send financials and previous meeting minutes for everyone to review. That way, if we have any questions or anything, we can handle that at the beginning of meetings each month. And so I'm going to make a motion now for December minutes. I did email, well, can't really do that, can I? So we're going to pause on voting in the minutes because I don't know that we have 5 folks to vote today. So we're going to pause on that, but I did include the December meeting minutes too, just for review. So y'all do have some previous information. Somebody?
We need 5. Don't we have 5?
No, they can't vote. They're not officially been appointed, so they can't
Oh, got it. That's right. Okay.
today. So we'll pause on that. But typically we would vote in and do a meeting minutes review. So, okay. For the sake of floundering, we're going to move on and leaving that behind. So our financial report, just to share with you guys, as we finished 2022, there is $573 sitting in our account. We do have $500 of that committed to a project that we will complete in Laurel Park. That's an installation of some, there was a celebration tree grove, and we're doing a brick paver installation that has some customized brick pavers that will go in. So there's some money allocated for that. So our total available balance right now is $73 for as we wound up 2022.
I think we did a great job of
That is very
budgeting.
close management of money. So I'm pretty impressed that we were able to do that. Stay in the positive, but get really close. So there is a donation pending. So Claire's realty company brought us a check today. So we'll have some money that we can share and put back in there.
Do we need to request a donation from Conway Court?
So that is already in process.
Okay.
So I was gonna, so, and Logan, I don't know if you saw, I forwarded you an invoice that Natalie had already made. I'm not sure if that's typically what happens, but you do have the invoice now.
Yeah, and so I received that, and I also called Natalie last week about it. She said that usually comes from Lauren at the city, so I just forwarded it over to Lauren.
Perfect.
Make sure it's all good and everything, and she'll send it back to me, and then I'll send it to marketing, and we'll get it processed.
And to clarify for you new folks, Conway Corp donates $5,000 to us each year, and so that is most of our budget, cash liquid budget for us to use each year. And so we'll be getting that soon. So great, already in action. So all right. Okay, so just a quick review of old business. So we did have a project in collaboration with the Chamber of Commerce and Arkansas Department of Transportation, the clearing of the Dave Ward interchange. That's been pending for a while. That is completed and paid, so that is done. So we're really pleased to see that.
Have you seen it? Has anybody?
I have
it
noticed,
Looks
yes,
nice,
it does look really
actually.
nice.
Yeah.
And it looks like maybe both sides. I thought it was just one side
It's
of the
supposed to be
interchange. Three sides.
quadrants, I think.
Yeah,
And then I think the city maybe paid for the 4th one. I think
Okay,
they got
gotcha.
that done.
It is nice. If you are doing that interchange right there by Dave Ward, Lewis Crossing, all of that, kind of that under canopy clearing of all of the brush and stuff. So that's a project that was completed there. The celebration tree pavers I mentioned, we're not quite sure of the date of the project in Laurel Park yet, so that those funds are still pending, and I'll update you once we know we'll have a date to get those installed into the park. And then also Arbor Day, Skylar, I've already talked to you. We got in the canvases to hang. They're going to actually go, I believe, in McGee Center.
I think that's what Derek said, yes.
Yeah. So our photo contest that we had, their art will be hanging in the McGee Center, but I'll give those to you after the meeting.
And I'll take some
those.
pictures where they're hung up at, and I'll send it to you guys.
Great.
Perfect. It'd be great. We would love, I'm sure the winners would like to go visit as well. So, all right.
Do we replace those each year with the winners from?
So last year's went into the Expo Center.
Okay.
And so I thought we were just going to add there, but I think it's just a kind of subject to where you guys might want to put them. Am I correct? I think they went into the Expo Center.
I think so. That makes the most sense.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have the expo. It probably went into the event center,
Mhm.
since the expo is just a huge building.
Mhm.
But I would imagine they went into the event
Yeah,
center.
that's where they went last year. And I think Derek wants them at McGee Center this year, which will be great. So high visibility, lots of activity there. So, all right. So new members, we've already kind of introduced ourselves, and we'll get to know each other really well. I will pass a sheet of paper around too for if well, I have all of your nominations for, but preferred communication style and contact information, y'all share that with me. I want to communicate how you'd like as we move along. All right. So we're going to just we'll dig right into our little packet here, and would like to cover some of the important pieces too. Obviously, our obligation and responsibility is to show up and attend as often as regular as we can so that we're productive in our business handling and so that we can vote and stay on our timelines and things like that. So I'll let Kyle, if actually you want to start. I know
Yeah,
he
sure.
gave us the new ordinance.
Yes, you should all have two sheets. You should have the ordinance that was passed for attendance, and then you should also have one that's for procedures from the mayor's office. So we can start off with the attendance. So this is O-2238. So it was passed last April, and really the purpose of this was just to make sure that people are showing up and that boards and committees and commissions can have a quorum and can operate effectively and efficiently. So we'll go ahead and just kind of walk through it. It's all pretty simple stuff, but really the big thing here is in section 1, it kind of goes over what the attendance standards are. So if you look under there, so you can see that after 4 absences within any 12-month period, a person will be deemed to have vacated their position, and that is grounds for removal from the board. So this is just a rolling 12-month period, so it has nothing to do with the calendar year. So it's just the previous 12 meetings from this point here. So if you're wondering how many absences you have, we're actually going to put together a spreadsheet that's going to be maintained and updated on a regular basis, and that'll be on the Google Drive. I'm not sure, does everybody have access to that?
Well, they
right
will,
now?
and I've not
Okay.
gotten into resources or anything yet, but we do have a Google Drive where we have all of our shared information, and you will all have access to that.
So that'll be there as a resource if you're wondering how many absences you have. I think the plan going forward is going to be that at the beginning of each meeting, we would take 1 to 2 minutes and just go around and say how many absences everybody has, just so there's a little bit more clarity on that and people aren't wondering, oh, am I at 2 or am I at 3? So that way you'll know at the beginning of each meeting how many absences you have. So you're welcome to use your free ones any way you like. So if you want to go on vacation, if you just don't feel like coming, if you're sick, it doesn't matter. You don't have to tell us why you're not here. So you get 3 free ones, but once you get to 4, that's where the problem comes in. And when you get to 3, you're supposed to get a letter, and that would either be sent by the chair or by a staff member such as myself. So yeah, once you get that letter, that would tell you, okay, you're at the maximum number. If you have 1 more, you would potentially be removed from the board. And then once you're at 4, that would be grounds for removal. So point B here is really only applying to the old people. So if you're a new person, this one really doesn't apply to you. But for the old people, if you already had 4, basically you just get 1 additional absence if you had 4 when this ordinance was passed. And then point C here just talks about that letter that would be sent out after 3 absences. But if for some reason the letter doesn't get sent, that doesn't mean that you get to stay on the board. So that is more of just a courtesy letter, but it's not an excuse to say, oh, I never got a letter, so I can just stay on the board. That's not how it works. So any questions about that part, about absences or anything? And I guess I will say everything has to be in person now. So there's no Zoom, no Microsoft Teams, nothing like that. You have to be in here in the room in person to be counted as present. And if you have to leave a few minutes early or you're a few minutes late, that's fine. I'm not going to say that you weren't here if you had to leave 10 minutes early. But if you weren't here for 90% of the meeting, then we're going to have to count you as absent. So any questions? And that's only for voting members too. So non-voting people are good, such as Krista, the Friends. You all don't have any sort of attendance requirements. So you are free to come and go as you please without having to worry about that. No questions?
I do want to point out one thing, though. In our bylaws, because we're not going to go through this point by point, you'll read that it says 3 absences in here. So this ordinance is new, came about mid-year. So you'll see a little bit of difference, but the new ordinance supersedes bylaws.
And these can be in a row. They can be spread out throughout the year. So it doesn't matter how you use them. If you want to have 3 back-to-back-to-back absences, that's fine. Or if you want to spread them out, that's fine. Or if you want to show up to every meeting, that's even better. So it's really up to you all what you want to do for your absences. So then on the other side of the sheet here, this is about conduct standards. So this is pretty basic stuff. It's basically just be courteous to everyone, be courteous to the other board members, to city staff, to the public, things like that. So I don't think any of this will be an issue, but I just thought I would touch on that really quickly. And then it kind of tells what the procedure is if there is some sort of an issue with that, how you can appeal it and stuff like that. So that's pretty much it for the ordinance. Any questions? anything at all. It's better to ask now than 5 months from now when there's a question. Yes.
Am I correct that all meetings will be recorded and like disseminated to the public?
Yeah, so it's being recorded right now. So we'll go over that in just a second here on this other sheet. But yeah, so they are all being recorded. So when the red light is on, that means that the meeting is being recorded and it's live.
And you'll see there's a 2023 calendar. I went ahead and put all of our meetings, so if you want to put those in your calendars or whatever, I do have all of those listed. The only tentative would be the one right after Arbor Day. We had one right after, and it maybe one above it a week, so that would be tentative, but otherwise, they're all listed for you.
And I would just add too that if you know you're going to miss a meeting, if you could let the chair know, chair or
Yeah, that does make it easier for
in
us if we know
advance.
ahead of time.
Because if we know that that we're not gonna have a quorum, it affects, that meeting's agenda.
And we may even cancel it and push it to a different date, so, yeah.
I'm assuming no, but if you let y'all know ahead of time and know what's on the agenda and know what needs to be voted, could you communicate in writing somehow what your vote would be for those
A
measures?
proxy, I don't
No,
think
you
we're
can't. You
that
have to vote
advanced.
in person
Yeah.
at the time of the meeting.
Yeah.
And I guess one other thing too, if for some reason the city's closed for, say, a snow day or something, you wouldn't be penalized for that. So if we had to close for the day, nobody's gonna get penalized. So it would just
we
be,
cancel our meeting.
yeah, we would just
So
cancel it. Yeah, so there would be no
nobody
attendance
would be-
penalty. Yeah.
Nobody would be upset
Yeah.
if we don't have a meeting.
Yeah, so it's only if we have a meeting. So yeah, if you weren't here when there was a meeting that's scheduled, that's when you get an absence. So, any other questions about that? Okay, so the other sheet here is the board procedures. So yeah, so he's kind of in and out on contracts. So he's still around. Yeah. So these came from the mayor's office. So these were sent out to all the boards last year right after the ordinance was passed. So we'll go through all of these. So basically, the point number 1 here is that meetings start at a predetermined time. So just make sure that you're here on time, and you'll see that that's kind of the theme throughout this is try to be on time and try not to show up late once the meeting starts recording. It can be, distracting if people are in and out of the room and stuff like that. So do try to be here and in your seats before the scheduled meeting start time. And then, so yeah, when you see the red light, that means that it's being recorded. So if you come in and the white is light or green, it's not being recorded. But as soon as it turns red, things are being recorded. So at that point, any sort of side conversation should stop, and it should be the chair would then call the meeting to order. So yeah, we do want to make sure that we're not wasting the public's time with anything that's not related to the business of the board when things are being recorded. And then if there are any things that need to be put up on the TV screen, you would just email that to Jared. So he's in the IT department. He's the one who runs all the recordings and makes sure that that's all working properly. So if for some reason we needed to put something up there, you could just send that to him, and that would probably not happen a whole lot with this group. That tends to happen more with like the planning commission and stuff where they're putting stuff up on the screen. But if you did need to do that, you would just email that over to him beforehand. So in this room, we don't have any microphones that need turned on. If we do have to go to the city council chambers for some reason, then you would have to turn your microphones on. So there's a little bit of info about that. And we did have one meeting in there last year, so it's probably always good to know about that in case for some reason this room gets booked and we do have to move over there. And then, yeah, so all the meetings should be in person now. So there should be no Zoom or Teams or anything for board members. That should just be if there's some sort of external presenter that's maybe doesn't live in Conway and has to join virtually. But as far as attendance for board members, that should all be in person. And then beforehand, this is something that we'll hopefully can do more this year with all of our boards, is have all the chairs check and make sure that we have a quorum beforehand, because again, that does tend to waste people's time if people show up thinking that we're going to have a quorum and that you can vote on stuff, and then you find out that you don't, and then you can't vote on anything. So hopefully we can do that. And then the last thing is just be mindful of eating and drinking during the meeting. Drinking is usually fine, but eating sometimes, especially if it's something loud, it's usually not encouraged. So I would say if you can, try to wait until after the meeting to eat. And that's pretty much it. So any questions on procedures?
And we do always enter through this back door, and I will give you all, there's a pen that we can use to enter to get in on our
Yeah, and so that should work
Days.
30 minutes before the meeting and then up to 30 minutes after the meeting. So you can come in a little bit early, so you don't have to wait right till 4:30 to come in.
Although if you wait right until 4:30, there's usually somebody leaving.
Yeah, that is true.
Open the door for you.
Definitely
Easy
true.
access.
You might get banged by the door.
Ready, yes. Okay, any questions? Anyone want to add anything? Okay. Thank you for that, I appreciate that, Kyle. Okay, so, like I said, I know you all, were either nominated or nominated yourselves for this, so you have some information about the tree board. But I did want to, take us kind of back. There is another ordinance, it's the, 0600626. This is our founding ordinance, we're not gonna go all the way through it, but I think it's helpful to kind of understand the foundation of why our board was developed. And what our purpose is. And so basically we were developed to help with tree care management, community forest management, regulation of planting, maintenance, removal, and protection of trees on public property. And so we really deal just with public trees, though Krista does a lot of advising for residents. People will ask our advice, and so often we send them directly to Krista. She's our professional on the board. So she'll do some of that and answer questions, but our scope of work is to do public trees and public property, okay? And there's a list of the ways that we can do that. Part of it's outreach, community education. This year, I'd like for our priority to be, if you see in this first paragraph, community forest management plan for the regulation of planting, maintenance, removal, and protection. That's something that we've started, but we don't have a drafted tree care management plan. There are several ordinances and ways that we do manage, but there's not a one piece of material to follow for that. And so we'll talk about committees a little bit later, but in my mind, I think in all of us, we found last year that this needs to be one of our top priorities for this year is to provide something for the city in terms of an actual tree care management plan. And that can, well, I'll let you share some of that later. But so that's what we'll focus on a lot this year. And then also we talked about down in this section too, that it is public property, public trees. And so Parks and Rec, we can't say enough about how much you guys have supported us finding locations to put trees in the ground. Because anytime we put trees in, we have to think about irrigation and maintenance. And so that's an easy place to put that. You guys have been super helpful for that. So we do have some new locations this year. Again, Parks and Rec has given us 3 great locations to do some plantings this year to start off with. So we're excited about that. But we do have other departments that work with trees in the city. So we've got transportation and physical plant. Streets and transportation are the same thing. So our goal this year too would be to expand and reach out to those departments and see how we can support and what partnerships we can get with them as well. All right. And then on this next page in the ordinance, of course, this just talks about the makeup of our board and some of the intent. And so obviously we're all appointed by the mayor, staggered terms, 3 years terms of service with us. And then underneath, you'll see there's the paragraphs in this section 3, and then basically just kind of a breakdown of how we will support the city. And so again, that's assisting the community and officials in disseminating information about our public trees. We can also propose such legislation as necessary for economic reasons, for practical reasons for the city. There was an ordinance this year through partnership with the planning department. We did develop one more ordinance for single and dual residents that they have to put in at least 1 tree. So that's one ordinance that we had passed through city council this year. That's also included in your packet. So that was something that happened as well. Developing tree planting programs. In conjunction, we do partnerships with nonprofits, individuals, RDOT, Chamber of Commerce, UCA. We have a lot of partnerships and affiliations to help get programs going in and around the city. Also educating the public around the maintenance and benefits of trees. So we'll do that either direct community outreach, through fun wellness activities. Krista does webinars and seminars, and anytime you see us out in the public, it always comes with a bit of an educational component. So even if we're out doing tree planting, For instance, we did the tree planting around Conway Station Park, and that was a great opportunity to deal with Parks and Recs folks who are going to be maintaining those trees to do some education. And then also any volunteers or participants that are with us also get that education as well. So, and we can do that through like early spring and late fall is when we do our planting and most of our work. Summer is not a great time to plant trees, and so that's when you'll see more of the softer side of the tree board. We'll do yoga under the trees, we do education and tree ID walks, and so that's just a way to stay out in the community throughout the entire year and find some ways to get people interacting, and the realization that we actually do live in a community forest. It may not look like Pettigene or Pinnacle, but we are indeed in a forest right here in our city. And so it's about awareness and interaction with the trees where we are throughout the year. So do some fun stuff and do some real work. Let's see, what else? Also, the Conway Tree Board provides technical advice, assistance to developers, builders, contractors, in the selection and protection of occurring trees. That is where Krista is pulled in many directions, being assistance for that. Also, species selection. That's something that has started, and hopefully we'll have an official document or booklet, something we can get together for residents and the city alike to be able to make educated decisions on the best kind of tree to put in our area. And then also the partnership with developers. You know, we'll see this year. I'm going to pause for a second, but city planning, we had the director James Walden who actually stepped out this year, so we have an open position in our city planning. We do have our long range planner with us, but so I'm not sure how many ordinances or bigger projects will happen just because of the turn in that department. But we did have a committee, an ad hoc committee with developers, and that's how that ordinance came about. So it wasn't just the tree board making a decision on behalf of developers. It was a great, I think, collaboration of folks represented to come up with a good fit for developers and the community alike. Sound fair? Yeah. Okay. So that's some of the work that we will do and how that's broken down. And yeah, public trees. So there we go. Any questions about, that was just kind of a crude breakdown of some of the work that we do. Krista, you want to add anything?
I think you did well. I mean, do you want me to talk about the urban forest management plan here, or?
We can, or we want to wait until roles and committees. Maybe we can talk about that under committee work. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So we've gone through that ordinance as well. I do want us to look at our bylaws because with turn, so there's a lot of new folks who've had a lot of turn, and so I think I am the chair, and that may be the only position. Well, I guess I need to be voted in. It's every year, so we'll have to make selections for every position that we do have. And so I'm going to flip us over because we've already gone through our purpose on this first page of our bylaws. If we can switch over to membership and officers. And that's going to be down, and then members and terms. So of course, we've already talked about our ex officio and our city staff representatives. And going down to members and terms, and actually, I guess we could flip on over to all of our positions. So we do have a chair, a vice chair, and a secretary. We will need to do elections for those positions. So we can't vote on that today, obviously, but you know, as we get through today, if you would like to nominate yourself for any position, or would like to nominate someone else on the board for that position, it can be anyone but Krista and Kyle, correct? So, and I want to we do also have another new member. Her name is Amy Roaming White. She just could not make it today, but we do have one other member that is on the board appointed, and we have one vacant position. So we'll have some new folks joining us next time as well. But so we will have to make some decisions on that. The chair obviously presides, and I'm just going to hit on all the roles. We probably mostly know these roles, but just to clarify, the chair obviously presides over all meetings, hearings, takes care of all of our meeting minutes, documentation for the board. The vice chair will help oversee training, orientation, support when the chair is not available, and act on my behalf or whomever's behalf is not here as the chair. And then the secretary is responsible for monitoring all the minutes, maintaining a record of our bylaws, our tree roster, so our actual formal board, and then we do have our Friends of the Tree board, and that's Janet and Claire are two of those. We have a big slew of Friends of the Tree board, and they're active with us. You see they're invested, they'll participate in meetings, they show up at volunteer efforts, and they're included on all of our communications so they can stay in know with the board as well. But so you would maintain a record of all of those, current memberships, and just overall minutes keeping. Everything is housed in our Google Drive, and we communicate otherwise through email mostly. So those are the positions that we should probably decide to make a decision, do that in February. So feel free, email me, talk to me, or let me know if you're interested in any of those positions. All right. Then we do also have standing committees. So there are 3 committees that we have. We have the Canopy Management, Community Action, and the Sustainable Works Committee. A little fluid, there's a lot of overlap in what the committees do, but we will need to have at least 3 members on each of those committees. So if there's an interest of any of this, just let me know. And keep me honest here, Krista, because there's a lot of gray area with some of our committees. So Canopy Management and Sustainable Works, is that we've not had like super formal committees of both of those, but we have had the one committee that works on the urban forestry
Which
management
that's actually an ad hoc committee.
plan, and that's ad hoc, isn't it?
Mhm.
So, and the reason why we're kind of stammering is we were thinking about our bylaws and do our committees the way that we are set up now, and does that structure still work? This was set in 2017.
I think we talked about actually making another ad hoc committee to review the bylaws and suggest
Yeah.
modifications.
And unless something's changed, it does look like the tree board gets to kind of go through our bylaws and make recommendations for changes and things like that. And so, the tree board was established in 2006, and this last amended was 2017. Lots of things have changed. And so, that may be something we want to be mindful of, the structure of committees. But for now, I'll tell you the 2 active ways that, in terms of committee work that we had last year, was one, the Community Action Committee, and that's kind of that forward-facing marketing, outreach, education, planning, and our community action folks, we got together and did all the promotion of all that and some of the footwork. So those, if you want to be more active, physically available at some of the events, I would say Community Action Committee is probably the best fit for you. Canopy Management and Sustainable Works, that's where they kind of blended into this ad hoc committee to just work on the urban forestry management plan. I envision those though as being, so we'll look at how we want to break that down, but the importance of our protection of our canopy that we do have now, and then how do we support the city in terms of future planning. Trees, were you going to say something?
Oh, no.
Okay.
You.
So we will have those, and that'll be more working with city, doing some research, planning, I don't know, versus just straight outreach, marketing, being in the community. We'll break that down a little differently. It didn't go very well, probably.
Well, I mean, we may even have we could possibly even provide training for municipal staff and that sort of thing. I think there are options that we haven't, totally explored.
I think that's the exciting part, is that we have so many new members, right? So we have new brains to the table and fresh ideas, and you obviously have different experiences. But the 2 things that are important is we have to stay forward facing in the community. We need to do our outreach. We need to do tree plantings and cleanups and all of those things. But the second most important,
I would say also, supporting the city departments. So we had even talked about, sending out a survey to department heads about their needs in terms of tree care and tree management and that sort of things.
that's my biggest learning is, wanting to plant trees sounds wonderful if we could just go plot them everywhere, but it's way more complex. You get into rights of way, and is there irrigation and maintenance, and what are the future projects already planned for City and Conway Corp that we don't necessarily know. And so So that partnership with all of the departments will be really important because lots of change and growth in Conway right now. So, okay. So let's see. So we'll have to decide on committees and see who would like to participate in those. And eventually we know that may meld and change just a little bit. And then the roles of officers as well. And then let's see what else we want to talk about through here. We've already talked about attendance, code of conduct. I think those are all the really important pieces. Our meetings are the first Monday of every month at 4:30, unless there is a holiday. And then the rest is just breakdown of business. And so you're welcome to review those kind of on your own. And if you have any questions about those, we can do some one-offs or discuss it at the next meeting. In terms of procedure, so we talked about quorum quite a bit, just so y'all know, we do have to have 5 voting members to be able to conduct business. So, and I'll try to, I'll do my best when I send out the agendas a week in advance to remind y'all to confirm whether we'll be in attendance or not, just so we'll know if we can do that business. I think those are the most relevant. I don't know if anything else. Okay, so that's kind of how we were founded, what our purpose is, and how we'll conduct business. And we've alluded to, we are a tree board. We are also Tree City USA. And that is, you want to talk about Tree City USA a little bit? Yeah. I'll let you take it away because we are that as well.
Yeah. Tree City USA is a program that was established and is managed by the Arbor Day Foundation. And it's been around, it probably says on the sheet of paper how many years.
I think we were 50 years this year.
So it's been around for 50 years, but Conway.
Oh, I'm sorry, 2017. So we are 17th year.
17th year. So last year, this year will be our 17th year. I get all confused.
Yeah.
Anyway, Conway has been a Tree City for 16 years, 17
I want
years.
to say our sign that they sent us said 17 years, but then I was thrown off because we hadn't done our year-end report yet. So.
Right. And they always recognize, so we have to recertify every year. So we send in an application in December that basically proves that we met all their requirements for that year. And then they will acknowledge that, yes, you met all the requirements and you did, indeed complete that year. They'll send that in March. So we don't actually get we don't actually know until March if they approve that year. But there are basically 4 requirements to be a Tree City USA, and those are on the back of this page. So one is that we have a tree board, which we obviously do. One is that we have a tree care ordinance, which it's interesting because we do have a tree care ordinance that for many, many years, Arbor Day Foundation said was totally acceptable, but they are actually wanting to kind of up the requirements for that, and they have flagged our ordinance as not being quite strong enough. We're grandfathered in at the moment, but at some point, depending on how they change, but they're trying to get people to use a little bit more definite language in their tree ordinances.
And is that particular one, we don't have to do it now, but I'm curious which ordinance that they
consider the
review
tree
and what the new expectations are, so we make sure that we're.
Yes, I would have to look back, but they want to see exactly who is responsible for public community trees. That's one of the things. And I don't think it's enough to just say the tree board advises.
Sure.
And then there was another requirement. I'd have to look back at the application, but they're just wanting it to be a little bit more structured than what we have. And then the third standard is that we need to show that we spent at least $2 per capita on tree care, which is surprisingly easy to do because tree care can include leaf removal, like in the fall when the leaves fall, which, you know, in parks and recreation, that's mowing of the sports fields. And then, you know, mulching, pruning, tree removals, all of that is considered tree care. So we get to that $2 per capita pretty quick.
But you won't see a line item in our city budget, but it lies in all of the different departments.
It's activities,
So,
yeah.
it's there for sure.
And then the fourth requirement is that that the mayor makes an Arbor Day proclamation and that we have some kind of an Arbor Day observance. And so we traditionally celebrate Arbor Day in Conway on the first Saturday in November. And we do that because that's the best time to plant trees. And so we wanted to promote that. And honestly, I think fall is a nice time to have Arbor Day because, you know, the trees are changing color and people are noticing the trees more. It's funny that I think there are other things that people notice in nature at other times of year, but in the fall, the trees are the star. Mm-hmm. So that kind of works well. But I take care of sending in that recertification application. And I just, you know, talk with city officials and that sort of thing to get all the information that I need. I think that's all.
So you'll see, so Tree City USA, and you'll see the signs in the city. We've got those posted.
I know what I should say. I did actually turn in an application for a growth award.
I was going to ask.
Yeah. So I think that's so on this front page, it talks about the Growth Award qualifying activities. And if you go to the Tree City USA website, you can see a little bit more and what different types of activities you can do to qualify for this Growth Award. But we did plenty of activities last year, and I think we should get it.
Good deal. That's great. I would like, because I think Fayetteville, there's only one or two other cities, I think, in the state that have gotten them, maybe. Sense of pride. It'd be nice to have Conway on a Growth Award listed on their website.
Which we've gotten a Growth Award before.
Yeah.
In Conway.
Have we? Great. Yeah. And so all of these are, if y'all want to dig into Arbor Day, there's lots of cool tools and references and resources for you there too. So you can check that out. But wanted to add that just so you guys have that information. Any questions about that? Also, there are like tree campuses for K through 12 and higher ed, so UCA. So we do want to, part of our education and outreach, and we've already started some partnership with UCA, but we would love to get tree campuses also. So more people we have invested and focused on maintaining those standards will help the city reach its goals too. So that is another part of what we'll do too, is get more tree campuses as we can in the city. All right. So I will share or let Krista, how are we doing on time? Pause for a moment. 12. Okay, perfect. All right, so talked about some committee work. The Community Action Committee we talked about was probably one of the most active this year. The second would be the ad hoc committee we had. You guys do have I thought I put it in here for you. It'll say draft 726. It's the Urban Forestry Management Plan. So there has been some meetings, draft, and conversations on how we can support, and I'll let Krista kind of go through a little bit of that.
Right. So this ad hoc committee has been we've been in existence, I think, now for at least a year, right? Or has it been longer than that? About a year. And it took us a while, I think. So an urban forest management plan, so a guide for the city in how it will manage its urban trees is what we were looking at. Well, that can be a lot of different things. And so we kind of did, like, we started looking at like other communities and what do their urban forest management plans look like. And there's so little consistency. Like it's like some of them are 200-page documents, some are 2-page documents. Mm-hmm. So it can be a lot of things. So it's taken us a long time. We met with a consultant just to see if maybe we'd want to actually contract this process out. And so we just looked at like, what do we want and how, like, what is the process we want to use to get to an urban forest management plan? And it's taken a lot to figure that out. And I don't actually think that we have it really like nailed down yet, but we did develop this, what we're calling a scope of work, which would be kind of what we would like to accomplish, I think, with the management plan. And so it's just kind of, so a management plan, is a written document. And so it would, have some kind of an introduction that talks about, the value of the urban forest, like why we should be managing our urban forest, and then why we need a plan, which, I would say that anytime you're trying to manage anything, you need a plan, right? Because the plan is going to address like, what do we currently have? What data do we have that, shows what our current condition is? And maybe even a little bit of what was our condition years ago even, so like what direction have we been moving for the past, in the past? So what's the current condition? And then some kind of a goal of what we would like our urban forests to look like. And then the plan is really the how do you get from what we have to, what we want. And so that's, what this is, in mentioning, why the management plan will help the city. We want some data to show where we are right now, and we don't even have that data. That data is surprisingly difficult to come by. But we are meeting with a class at UCA, the capstone
Environmental science capstone.
And we may have some students that can help us get some of this data put together on our current state. And maybe even how to get to a goal. We want to develop some kind of goal for the urban forest. And then we want some kind of recommendations and recommended action steps for how the city and the tree board can get to our goal. And so that's basically what we're looking at there.
So, and the reason why we wanted to share that too, so, if you have a desire to work on more of the meat and bones of a management plan, we would love your support on that committee. And in terms of so we have our monthly board meetings. In terms of committee meetings, I'd say probably no more than quarterly with work in between, which would be either Google Docs or some kind of communication, however we wanted to set it up. But so we're not taking more physical time with meetings, but
well, and I think it's important to note too that the committees, we can have additional people that aren't on the committees, and I would encourage that because our board is not that big. And so especially like we've got this huge group of friends.
Can I stay on the committee?
You can stay on the committee.
Okay.
Jenny, you may have interest in that too, because that's where, and so, yeah.
Yeah, so, as we need to be thinking about that too, about other people in the community that could help us on these committees. And because sometimes there's even some kind of professional expertise that could be useful on a committee that maybe we don't necessarily have on the board, but we could find somebody in the community that would be willing to volunteer expertise. Yeah.
All right. Any questions? All right, let's see. So let's see what else we need to go over. And I did tell you guys I put in the year-end report. We're not going to go over that, but you are welcome to review and look at some of the work that we did do this previous year. And so I think those are most of the resources or tools I wanted to talk about today, so we're not completely overwhelming everybody on day one next time. And I'm going to pause. She talked about some data that we don't have data. We do have some, there's not a lot, and there's not a good history to see the land change over time, and so that's what we'll be seeking some help with. But again, in our drive, and I can forward to y'all if you want to see, there is some information in terms of tree canopy, where we were, planting, saturation, all of that. I think we were like at 25% maybe the last time. Don't quote me on that.
estimate was higher than
Was it
that.
higher that maybe? And so anyway, but we do have some of that information that we can share. I just don't want to blast y'all with everything today because we can only hold so much information. Okay, so let's take a quick look because I had some questions. I don't know if we can answer. I don't think we can answer all of those today, but on this 2023 calendar, at the top of it, I did list all of our meetings for us. I did list the committee meetings just so y'all had awareness. Those are the 3 potential committees that you could be involved with. I am hoping that those meetings are no more than quarterly face-to-face and with lots of work in between, work as we can in between. There were some events for 2023 that we did go ahead. We know we wanted to do some things. So we've got some on the calendar and we have some others that we still need to plan through. We did do the January 1st first day hike at Cadron Settlement. It was a beautiful day. And Krista wasn't feeling well, but her husband was excellent in support. So he and my husband both have to say kudos to the husbands to show up and help lead that hike. And I just got to make small talk and hike with them. So that was fun. But we did do that. We had about 11 people show up for that day. And got to have a good hike through there. Like I said, January 13th, we'll be doing a pitch for UCA for a capstone project, which will, the desire with that, or the goal with that will be to either get some historical data or some planting priorities, try to narrow down some locations. We've got 3 different opportunities that we'll pitch, and we'll let you know if we get chosen for that after the 13th. We do give away free trees. Last year, we gave away 600 trees in 2 hours, very quickly. So there is vast interest. So I talked about with managing public trees. That is our primary goal, but part of the way we can do that is to encourage our residents to get trees on their property where it makes sense. And so last year, they were able to come and get up to 5 trees. Is that what it was?
I was trying to remember.
It was, I think we needed like 2.
I think we need to do fewer.
Because we had, it was just kind of on a whim. She got some free
We had
trees.
so many calls even days after that
Yeah.
for them.
Yeah.
And lots of disappointed folks who showed up after 2 hours. And so our goal this year.
Well, and I will say, so last year we got the 600 trees for free from the Arkansas Forestry Division. And I have not heard from them about whether they'll be able to do that again. But we did go ahead and purchase some trees, and these are bare root seedling trees. And so we purchased about 400 trees. I think that's, I have to look back at
Sounds right.
invoices. Spent about $400, but
Okay,
it
maybe
may have
that's
been
why
a few
400
more.
cents.
Because they should be less than $1 a piece.
Yeah.
So those should be coming around the 1st of March, and I will need to find a cooler. I think Scott might have access to a cooler location to keep those cool until the date that we actually want to do the giveaway. Which we're looking at St. Patrick's Day, because green and trees kind of made sense, and it's a Friday, so Free Tree Friday.
Right
on
before
St.
spring
Patrick's.
break.
Right,
So
and
if
the
people
Friday
can plant
before
their
spring
trees,
break.
if they're not going away, worked really well that time, same week last year that it happened. And so big turnout for that.
Well, and the neat thing actually about purchasing some trees is that we got kind of a little bit more variety because I think we only had 3 different varieties from Forestry Division last year. So this year we'll have a lot more varieties for them to choose. You know, some of them are a little bit smaller and just more unique because tree diversity makes our community forest more resilient to pests and diseases and climate change issues. So diversity is good.
And that's why we wanted to, typically we don't ask for our money quite as soon from Conway Corp, but if we can get some funds in, we would like, and have access to, we'd like to purchase some more trees.
There are none available at the moment.
Okay, good.
which is why I'm like, maybe we'll get some free trees from Forestry Division.
Yeah. But we do already have some purchased. Or we wanted to do more trees. But we'll
So, and I purchased some from the Arkansas Forestry Division, and I purchased some from the Missouri Department of Conservation. And that's actually good because you get some different species. But man, like Missouri, they opened their like website and they were sold out in a few days of
We-
many, many different
We
varieties.
really need to make that determination probably in,
They open
April or
the
May
Monday after
this year.
Labor Day. They open their ordering site.
Oh.
And so first week in September is when you need to be ordering trees.
And that's for the
Well, in
for the next
Bauckham,
year.
the Arkansas nursery, they open theirs in July.
yeah, it's early.
So
And that, so we need to think of that in terms of funding, because I think we had the idea, but not necessarily the funding at the same time.
well, and I think we were worried about having enough money for Arbor Day and
Right.
that sort of thing.
So in terms of budgeting, we want to budget that more to, what, say May and, hold me on, what did you say? What did you-
July and September is when we need to be ordering. Okay.
And just so I can put that for budget purposes. Okay, but we do already have trees for free tree giveaway ordered, so we'll have that. I did reach out to, well, Claire reached out, the Martin Luther King Park downtown on Markham Street. I'm not sure if y'all have been down there. Have you been down there? If you've not, please go down there. It's wonderful, low impact development, water retention park, good stormwater cleansing, all of that good stuff. So we would love to do for Earth Day, Arbor Day timeframe in April, we would like to do educational walking tour just to introduce more folks to that park and give some education why behind
I
the
think
what.
Kyle's our guy to lead that. He knows how it all works.
Well, good, that would be
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, I mean, we can do it together, so,
Yeah.
because I know more of the tree stuff, but you know more of the low impact development part of it, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a wonderful park, so we thought that would be a good activity to have. Claire reached out to the chamber because there are also some trees there that have straps. We need to get in there and do some management with that, but I believe that she was told Spencer at Physical Plant.
The physical plant right now is who's taking care of them or is supposed to be, and then I believe Olive
So
Branch.
Olive Branch,
Is-
so it's the 6th Street ones that the straps really bother me.
Oh, okay, I didn't
Yeah.
know that. I'll go back to that
I
one.
thought
Yeah,
it was
those
okay.
I
I
can
thought-
see them.
But either way, I've got both their phone numbers. I'll call them and see who sent them. But they're welcoming any and all help, support, communication, whatever. They're both down for it. They're both in my networking.
Perfect. You talked to Spencer already? Okay, great, because I emailed him today too, but it was today, so.
That's fine.
But so we want to talk to them. Now, Parks and Rec, do y'all manage MLK Park too, or it's just Physical Plant?
That I'm
Do you
not
know?
100% sure on.
Believe it's just physical plant
Just
right now, and
physical
then Olive Branch is working on getting it all worked out, but they're not done with the paperwork side of it yet. I think that's my impression.
And that's for the park or 6th Street? That's MLK Park?
MLK or the Markham Street.
So Olive Branch is doing the street trees and Physical Plant is doing the park?
Their wires are crossed. They don't know what they're doing yet.
Oh, okay.
So it would
They
help
do
if
need our
we
help.
catapulted
So
them
they
into
do
a
want some
decision,
help.
honestly. Because right now, one of them thinks one's doing it, and one of them thinks the other's doing it. I think.
So nobody's really doing
That's
it?
interesting, since I would think Olive Branch would be like, we need money.
Well, they haven't. I don't think they've decided on the. They're working on getting it, but the money part hasn't been decided yet. Maybe
So
they're
with
working on getting the contract. It's
pending
not-
contracts, it's in limbo who's
Yes.
really got it.
And that's for Markham Street proper.
Yes,
Which it did just open.
but
so.
I'll find out about 6th Street too.
I think they did the work.
The 6th Street trees have been in the ground for like 2
Yeah.
years now. They don't need straps.
And the ones on the embankment up on the bridge. I don't know. Or you know what I'm talking about?
I'll talk.
So pending, but we do have that. May 5th, I don't know if you have an update on the natural state climbing competition.
Do a little bit. So actually the organizers of the Natural State Climbing Competition are coming tomorrow.
Oh,
And I'm meeting with them and we actually have a meeting set up with Hendrix that, fingers crossed, that would be the perfect location. They've got fabulous trees, they've got the parking and the like bathroom facilities and all the things. And of course that's Toad Suck weekend, but that could be really nice. Like if we can get it scheduled, like maybe that could actually be part of Toad Suck, like just another event.
Oh, well, everyone in the
And
city.
now with Markham Street corridor, like you can, like there's basically a pedestrian corridor
Yeah.
between the two, between downtown and Hendricks. It could be really good.
That would be great.
But we're gonna look at some other sites too, just in case.
And does everyone know what she's talking about, natural state tree climbing competition?
Yeah.
Describe.
So it is, it's been going on for at least 5 years, and it's held annually, and I think almost always the first weekend in May. But it's a tree climbing competition for professional arborists, and it really like highlights the skills of these professional arborists that can climb a tree like super fast and do these really cool things. And they have different competitions, like, you know, one is kind of like a speed competition, like how quickly can you go up the tree and collect these different flags that are in different places. There's one that's an aerial rescue competition that's kind of cool. So they have a dummy that is like hanging from a rope. So the idea, and this is very important in the tree industry, is, you know, it's dangerous business. And so if somebody, you know, gets hurt while you know doing tree work, their coworkers can help them responsibly. And so that one's pretty neat. So they literally, like for that one, they, you know, just literally go up and grab the dummy and get the dummy down safely. And they have a couple other competitions as well, and I don't know exactly, but it's really just focusing on the skill of these professional arborists. And I think it can do a few things. It can really demonstrate, I think, to the public the difference between a professional certified arborist and their skill level compared to a guy that you might just, you know, who puts a hanger on your door and says, I can cut down your tree. So, you know, which one would you rather have in your yard? So.
And it pulls from all multiple states too, so it's good exposure for the city. It's good education. It's another soft way to kind of get introduced and get folks out to interact with the trees and see what's going on. So that.
And I think, you know, if we could have it, especially at Hendricks, it might be possible for the tree board to do some educational activities in conjunction, like maybe just a tree ID walk or something like that. Because Hendricks actually has a complete tree inventory for their campus. So it would be really easy to walk around and identify trees and look at, you know, all the variety of trees that they have.
If Hendricks doesn't work out, what are some of the other sites that are being considered?
We have reached out to UCA, but I don't think we have gotten a response back. The hard thing is the competition is on graduation day for UCA, which is a little bit of a complication. We're also looking at the Conway Library, which when they told me that, I was like, what are you talking about? But I knew of like one big oak tree that's behind the library, but there actually are several, and they thought they could do it. I think the hard part there is parking. But I talked with Bell Urban Farm, and it does sound like we could probably use their overflow parking if we go that direction. We're going to look at the Don Owens because they have some nice trees, but I know there's a tournament going on, which might.
Yeah, hasn't surprised me there.
So that might, we're going to look at it, and so I don't always know what they're looking for in trees. Like the organizers of this event, they have certain things they want to see in the tree where they're doing the competition. So they need to look at the trees and be like, oh yeah, we can use those trees, or no, those trees aren't suitable. So we're going to go look at that. Anybody has any other ideas?
Beaver Fork Park?
So they didn't think there were enough large deciduous trees. So they need hardwoods, there are like lots of pines.
So many.
Yeah. But they need hardwood trees.
Okay. And I know Gatling Park, but the parking wasn't there, but I don't
So
know if they'll
I still think
reconsider
Gatling
that.
can work. So I'm going to make them go over there. They thought the parking, but I don't know if they know that there's 2 different parking areas and could potentially sort of be 3 if you think about the new Pompey Park and how
Enjoy the look.
Yeah. I want them to see if it could possibly work.
And there's not enough I'm so sorry, in Pompey Park, it just made me think, I keep thinking on this side, but where the bike trail course is, are there enough trees in that?
I don't know if they're big enough is the problem, they're smaller, so, yeah.
When you say UCA, is it UCA campus separate from Jewel Moore, or would Jewel Moore be?
We would take anything that.
Because I know Jewel Moore at least has pretty large parking lots
By the challenge
away
course.
from Ferris Center. And so with graduation, all parking around Ferris is going to be insane. And some of those main strips are going to be very difficult to move around. But if you go back further toward, there's a few other very large parking lots. There's bathrooms out there as well.
Yeah, I mean, I thought like even around the challenge course, I think there might be some large trees. So the ideal situation, I think, are some really nice big oak trees in sort of a park-like setting where there's mowed grass underneath them. Because there will be a lot of activity around the trees, but so like having them crowded together or whatever, it doesn't work as well. But I think there might, and I think they need like 6-ish trees to do it.
8.
6 to 8, I can't even remember. Yeah.
Would grass maintenance by fire be acceptable? We're looking at burning the main prairie at Jewel Moore this semester. And within the main prairie, there's a few massive sweet gums and a few really large kind of tree islands within that area.
Would you want that much foot traffic in the prairie? Is that okay, or?
I can talk to a Jewel Moore Nature Reserve manager.
If you want to ask somebody about it, yeah. And I don't think we need to exchange phone numbers, because you could like text me tomorrow or something and be like, yeah, you should go look at it or something, whatever. So
Let her know. You want to add that to your tour tomorrow? So you're doing that tomorrow? That's good. Awesome.
Exciting.
Yeah. So that'll be planned for May. And then May through July, we will just, May, June, and July, we'll do a yoga summer series. So we'll have yoga one day each month, just so those 3 months. We've played around with those the past couple of years. We've only done one during the summer, and everyone wants more. We're like, we're done. See you next year. So we're going to try to do it at least once a month through summer. And then we just kind of take a break, or not take a break, but begin planning
We're
for.
working
We do
hard,
not take a
actually.
break. We work very hard until November 4th. That's going to be our Arbor Day Festival. That would be the one time I'd say if we need all hands on deck, that's our major event for the year. The things that we do need, obviously you didn't hear any tree plantings on here for this year. That would be something that we would definitely want to get in there. So I'm working on a potential tree grove donation right now, which would be nice if we could get that. But it'd be nice if we could do some early spring and early fall, either cleanup or tree planting. So those would be something, if we can, we'd like to get on the calendar. I put on here.
You know, I was thinking you had mentioned wanting to do invasive plant removal, just as sort of an outreach and sort of a hands-on project. And actually, so I pre-walked the trail, the Cadron Settlement Trail, like the week before, and there's a lot of Nandina out there, and that's easy to identify and much easier to cut, and like there aren't thorns and stuff. So
And they're toxic to birds now.
yes, yeah. So that one might be an option, is to do Nandina control.
That'd be great.
In Cadron Settlement.
I keep looking as if you're Derek. I'm like, and Derek, we usually throw this over to him, so we're gonna throw it to Skylar. But that's a good idea to do that. And then, we're open, obviously, thinking about realistically, what do people want to know at different parts of the year about trees, how to maintain, plant, prune. And so that's where Krista does a lot of education. But we thought it'd be nice to get out and physically do a cleanup of some sort. So that would be something we'd like to do as well. But that's our tentative schedule for the year. And then I did, last year we partnered with UCA Big Event. That is March 11th. So I didn't know if we wanted to try to think of a project to utilize those students, and again, we could do it again with Hendrix if we wanted to, but just to throw that date out there, March 11th, this year's UCA's big event.
This always happens.
And so if we wanted to do some kind of cleanup, I don't know if it behooves us to do it on the front end, to do it in spring, or I know they're better served in fall, but we could do some kind of cleanup. Last year, we planted 200 trees, so that was the big project.
Although those were donated to us,
And
so that was.
that's like, we had so many trees last year. And they're
The last
challenged
2
to
years,
get
yeah, the
this
last
year.
2 years, we've had a lot of trees given to us, but I don't know if we'll be that lucky this year.
And so, it may not be our heaviest year in terms of getting in, but and last year we did a lot of outreach in smaller projects, but I think if we could really focus in, we're a new board, if we could focus in on the priority of the tree care management plan, I think, in lieu of doing as many plantings this year, if we can get some real work done on this management plan would be, in my mind, a priority. I'd like to see us do that this year.
For a big event, could we see if we could get volunteers to help remove straps on trees that are in limbo care that need?
I think the hardest part about that is like when you think about the 6th Street is they're in the median and volunteers and
I
on
think
a
it
busy
would be better
road.
just to be us,
Right.
and then we make a Facebook post about it.
Makes sense.
I have those
It's not
concerns
fun.
anytime there's, that median work it's more unpleasant than you think to be in the median. Because that was one of the issues with the celebration trees on Prince too, is like to do like mulching or anything was really quite difficult, dangerous, and it's just very unpleasant.
And we are due, I don't know, cemetery. I'm trying to think of, where are some other public trees that we might give some support, but usually they reach out for their own projects. But just wanted to throw that out there, but if y'all think of an idea or project for the big event, we can get signed up, because that's, students love to help for that.
I do know the Milestone School will be doing a volunteer day as part of the UCA big event, and we kind of supported a grant application for them to remove a hazardous tree on their playground and plant 3 new trees, and then there's a management. So it was a kind of multifaceted grant project, but they're matching it with volunteer work, and so there will be kind of a playground cleanup day. There'll be a lot of leaf and stick removal.
But they're signing up for that, right?
Yeah, but it still might be something that we could like help with.
Oh, I would love to help, yeah.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't need to solicit volunteers, right? Because they're gonna do
Right,
that.
good point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see, where are we? It is 5:42. So do y'all have any, y'all got it? You ready to get? No, I'm just kidding. Any questions? You have all this nailed now. Any questions, comments?
Well, Krista just mentioned the Mandina removal at Cabinet Settlement. Could that qualify as a big event? Because that's not something you have to stand over somebody and supervise. You just tell them this is what it is.
Yeah, we would just need tools for them because they probably wouldn't have loppers.
No, sometimes they do purchase things in advance if they have them. I know they've done small things. I don't know if they would do loppers, but I know they'll do like gloves, and
Yeah.
we have had them provide.
Would you need the big loppers, or would the littles work?
I think big ones would be better. And then, ideally you'd be putting some glyphosate on the cuts, but you could have like one of us actually doing that, so the volunteers would just be cutting and others of us applying the chemical.
Now, in the past, Jewelmore Nature Reserve has had big event things happening. If they don't, we could request to use some of their gloves or loppers, hand snips, and I know that they have glyphosate application tools, so they've got backpack sprayers, squirt bottles, paintbrushes, etc.
That's cool.
Depending on what type of herbicide and dye you want to use.
If you want to look into if they're going to be doing anything with it that date. I will say I am busy that date.
And we
And
don't,
it's work, it's not fun.
and it popped up and I'm like, I know March 17th.
I shouldn't say that, it's a little bit of fun, but it is work.
All right, any other questions, suggestions, comments for today? Okay. Well, welcome all of you. Thank you very much. I know we didn't accomplish much, but I wanted to at least get some tools in your hands to review and look over some things. Please do think about whether, what committee you would like to serve on, how you would like to participate, and if you would be interested in any of the office positions available. Thank you. Oh, and motion to adjourn.
We don't have a quorum.
We can never adjourn.
It's 5:45, we're done. How about that?
We will adjourn by
Come in.
consensus.
We will.
There you go.
Thank you very much.